Hello everyone, I'm Michał Kobosko and I have a great pleasure to welcome you to the first edition of the Kobosko TALKS this year. In this special program, I have a very special guest with me, Malik Azmani, a Dutch politician and a member of European Parliament for the second term. Before joining the European Parliament, Malik was active in the Dutch national politics as a member of Parliament there for the People's Party for Freedom and Democracy, the VVD party, focusing on justice, migration and security issues. But he realized that Europe is the place to really make a difference on issues like the migration. That is why Malik went to Brussels in 2019 and has been a member of the European Parliament ever since. Here he is a leading voice on matters of migration, civil liberties, justice and foreign affairs. He's also head of the VVD delegation and vice president of the ALDE party. Malik, welcome to the program. Great to have you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kobosko. Thank you very much for having me here.
Great pleasure. Malik, could you, at the very start, could you say a few words about your work at the Parliament? Where are your special fields of interest? What are you doing? And which areas you believe should be crucial for the Parliament as a whole during this term?
For me, my speciality is, of course, migration, as you mentioned. That was also the reason why I went to the European Parliament in 2019. And I'm dealing with youth migration files, like the Migration Pact. And now I'm also responsible as a rapporteur on negotiating for the new return regulation. That is the missing piece. And for me, it's quite important that we have control on migration and the migration streams, also towards the pressure on our external borders, like, of course, also the Polish border. I think also the Polish border is not only a border from Poland, but it's a common responsibility to protect also the border of Poland. And I don't need to explain that migration is also misused by our enemies, those who don't believe in liberal democracies. So that we need to attack, and that I think is also the most important subject for this year, of course, looking toward the world stage, doing also foreign affairs. If you see how we are under attack, our liberal democracy, our liberal values, we need to foster and strengthen our democracy, and it means also that, of course, we need to attack the security, but we need also to invest in defense and build a stronger economy.
But generally speaking, how well is the EU dealing with the migration issues nowadays? Because we had better and worse, I would say, episodes with the migration, different member states, but generally speaking, as EU today in 2026.
We adopted in the end of the previous mandate, the Migration Pact, and those regulations need to be implemented this year. The member states need to implement all the regulations where we agreed on, and that means also that on the external borders of the European Union there needs to be the procedures, and who don't have a legal reason to stay. And then those people where it's quite clear that they come from safe countries, for example, then you can also make the decisions over there and return them as a common European responsibility towards countries. Just that you prevent also the secondary movement, the streams through the whole European Union. They will also destabilize, of course, our societies. And of course, those who are less able to stay because they are a refugee, also there we have a common responsibility, and not that everyone, for example, are allowed to stay to Poland, but that we have a common responsibility. If Poland have a huge increase, that it's not only Poland, but that we have a shared responsibility also for those who really needs to stay in the European Union.
You're absolutely right that the migration is one of the core of the absolutely fundamental issues during this term. Now I want to turn to the Dutch politics for a while, because it's a very special moment for you. You're right after elections which were definitely won by the democratic and liberal parties of the Netherlands. I want to ask, where are you in the coalition talks right now, in the forming of the new government period? And then also, generally speaking, what lessons could be learned from the Dutch elections, which clearly showed that the democratic and liberal parties are capable still to win elections in Europe?
Yeah. Well, the stage of negotiating, still the parties in the center are negotiating, but it's looking very positive that there will be a government. The aim is to have it already installed end of this month, January, but it could be also, I think, in February. Just let's see how that develops. But the three political parties, the two from Renew and D66 and the VVD, with the Christian Democrats, will aim for a minority government. That will be a new experiment in the Dutch political scene. We have a bicameral system. We have a House representative and we have a Senate.
Yes.
And all the legislation needs to also to being passed by the Senate. You have always that you need to negotiate and to navigate not only from your coalition, but that you need also to work with oppositional parties. But a really minority government is quite a huge experiment. But I think there is a solid base and a relationship between the three parties are quite important, because we had that experiment, of course, in the previous government of and the Take Care government, but those parties left. How far right is acting, and far right they give always simple answers, but if they need to steer, they don't achieve anything, and they gave also not the real solution. It's easy politics. And I totally understand that people are attracted towards if there are issues, but they will never deliver real solutions. And I think that is also an element why the far right in the Netherlands decreased a lot after the elections. But also we have a responsibility from the center of the political scheme to tell our story, to bring those solutions, realistic solutions, and also to achieve them, and with a positive, optimistic view. And I think looking towards the whole campaign, there was trust in the leader of D66, Rutte. He performed very well. Well, we are, as our party, if you look towards the polls in the summer, we increased a lot also in the last week to let's see also to the people that we have the real solutions for the problems. And now is real the time for this coalition from the center to deliver also towards our citizens that we need to prove.
What kind of lessons you believe are to be learned by other parties from other member states? How can you go into campaign nowadays with the narrative of the liberal democracy when you see the rise of the far right forces, far left as well, but mainly the far right, which is everything but not the liberal democracy, obviously. So what could we learn? What could we learn from you?
Well, I think it's quite clear that far right, if you look towards our struggles on the geopolitically field at this moment, the far right is quite advocating in favor for Trump administration, and also there are far right elements in our European Union who has a relationship with Russia and with Moscow. Well, those are not presenting our liberal democracies. And why it's important to have liberal democracy, because we want that the people in our member states, in our countries, has the possibility to make something from their life, that there is not a government that would pressure them from who they are or which choice they make, and you want to also have that people can increase in their capabilities and that they can live a real free life, and that is so important that we have in democracy, well, that's really under attack, and if you look towards independent media, the rule of law, it's quite important to have that installed for a better life for our citizens. And I think if we look towards the Netherlands, people understand it also. There's people understand that there is pressure from outside, from our enemies, who don't believe in liberal democracy. And in the end, people need to have space and liberty for their own development. But what they also need is that they can buy each day bread on the table, you know. Exactly. It's also about economy. And I don't need to explain, I think, then when you have a more stable country or a stable European Union, you will also have a strong economy. But we need to do also a lot here in the European Parliament to make it happen, if you look towards the internal market, for example, we haven't completed yet, as we can gain a lot. And in the end, it's about the households in the villages, in the municipalities, in our member states, that we need to strengthen. So I totally understand that people are worrying about paying their bills, but I think that liberals like us, that we have always the best solutions to understand that jobs are not made by government, jobs are made by entrepreneurs. They have facilitate jobs for people so that people can work, earn money, and make a good life.
What people care about definitely is also the security issues and all things related to the security. And here I want to jump to the NATO and Secretary General Mark Rutte, who you've known him for long years.
Yes, many years.
Many years.
He was always my boss.
Your friend, if I can call him.
Yeah, this time he is my friend.
Yes, he's your friend. He's now in a pretty challenging role, I would say, as a Secretary General. I wouldn't say that it was not challenging to be a Prime Minister of the Netherlands for long years, but his new role is a very new role, looking at the geopolitical tensions and challenges that we are seeing and observing. How do you think he's doing in his new role? Because he needs to be kind of a bridge builder. Yeah. Obviously, we know the reality. We know what the NATO is, how important the NATO is for the Netherlands, for Poland, for other countries. But the US is there, and we want to keep the US there. And then Mark Rutte is right now in the middle of discussions, for example, about Greenland and other issues. So, how do you think he's doing?
Yeah, well, it's a quite difficult task, especially now in these circumstances. But indeed, he is the most suitable person, I think. If I look towards the European Union in his previous role as Prime Minister of the Netherlands, but also a dominant role in the Council, where he always was the person who brought in the end the solution. He is quite easy to navigate and to speak with persons, to bring people together, to make those compromises, what is needed. And that was also in the Netherlands necessary, because I explained already about the bicameral system, what we have in the Netherlands, that you always need to deal also with oppositional parties. Yeah. But he did it also later on as a Prime Minister in the Council, where in the end everyone looked towards him because he knows then in the end the compromise solution what's needed, and he's strong in the relations. Well, that's the same role what he does now. He didn't change anything. He is like he is. He is not a different person in private life. It's the modest guy, always smiling, a positive look, but always strong in relations, and to keep those relations. And I think for our security, for protecting our freedom and democracy, it's quite needed that NATO is aligned. And I totally understand that if you look towards what's happening now and how Trump is playing his game, but in the end, in our security interest and our benefit, we need not to push him out, but we need to continue to work with him. But in the same place, we as Europe needs, of course, to build up our own defense and to have a strong EU pillar also in the NATO. This is that combination. But we have not the privilege to say, well, United States, to say goodbye. And I think he is, well, what I know also, he plays a very good role also towards the President Trump and the President of the United States. And he cannot say a lot of things, of course, also in front of the camera. A lot of things will be happening also behind the scenes. But yeah, he is important also towards the support from the United States to Ukraine. We saw that, of course, also that there was disputes, and he is really the person who will bring then in the end also Zelensky and Trump together. But that's not an easy task at this moment, no.
Definitely not. I would love to read his memoirs after it all, after he finishes his term, because that's a kind of extreme challenge for him. But do you believe in the future of the NATO?
I believe in the future of the NATO, but I hope to feel and to see also this year, 2026 here in Europe, in the EU, in our institutions, also in the European Parliament, that we really need now to speed up, to increase our own defense, so that we also are more autonomous if you look towards protecting our security from our citizens.
Malik, great pleasure to have you on my program.
Well,
all the best
very
for
nice.
still a very new year. To you,
For
to the
you
party,
also
and to
the
the
same.
Netherlands.
For you also all the same, and also of course for Poland.
Thanks
you
so
very
much. Thank you very much. That was the Kobosko Talks. Thanks so much for watching us, and see you soon. See you the next time. Thank you.